rock and roll?
Yep.
All right, let's do this thing. Welcome back to the IntentionALL podcast. My name is Aaron. I'm joined with Jonathan and Nathan, and we are super excited about today's episode. We have our guest on with us, Natale, and I'll do a quick introduction for him. He's a Christian man, a husband, a father. He's an entrepreneur and a business owner. And one of the reasons that we're super excited to have him is he is also taking stands for the faith and the biblical family. So we're very excited to dive into those things today because those are valuable to us as the IntentionALL crew. So join us today in welcoming Natale.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, glad to be here. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and start at the very beginning. Take us back to who was young Natale, and what is the journey that has brought you to where you're at today?
Yeah, grew up in Saginaw, Michigan, and grew up in a great family, entrepreneurial family. I have four siblings, and really grew up like everything sports. Played sports my whole life. I'll mention just that like we weren't really a Christian household. Like I wouldn't say there's many believers in my family, like full-on believers. They're definitely a spiritual kind of sort of believe, that kind of household, but just a very structured like system of a house. Dad provided, mom would stay at home, very kind of classic, I would say traditional household. After high school, moved to the west side of the state, went to Grand Valley, graduated with a hospitality tourism degree in food and beverage. And after college, I should mention, I also did sports in college, did track and field, the field portion, not the track side.
Yeah.
And then went overseas to Italy, did culinary school for a year there, came back to Grand Rapids in 2008, and then worked in the food scene downtown Grand Rapids until about 2013-14, and then kind of wiggled my way to where we are now. So I mean, in terms of faith, I was baptized in high school, sophomore year. Just had a lot of friends that went to church, and like, have you guys experienced, you just like hang out with that group, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they go to church on Sunday, I'm doing a sleepover, and then you go to church the next day and you're like, I'm kind of in this, like I believe all this stuff. And I would say I lived a very, lukewarm Christian life. I definitely partied in college, I was not celibate before marriage, like all those things that I think a lot of men and a lot of Christian men deal with, where like, yep, I'm a Christian. You go to church. Definitely had a group of track kids that we went to church every Sunday. Wasn't doing church the night before, so didn't really get intentional with my faith until after like food scene 2014 through 16. Was going back to church by myself. Just felt that like I was missing something in life. And then that's where kind of met Hannah and kind of ventured into where we are now. So
Love that. I know you said you grew up in a entrepreneur family. Was there any pivotal moments or like key memories that you have that kind of put you on either on the entrepreneur trajectory?
Not like a pivotal moment. So my dad definitely worked corporate, but I feel like his saying to us always was like, don't do what I did. Like he was a high school graduate, that was it, and just was super smart businessman, is still. But he always told us, he's like, don't do what I did. Go to school, get a degree, and then do what you love. And it's like, you kind of look at that and you're like, well, do what you love. And that doesn't always make money. That doesn't always pay the bills. But I think that mindset of like, you can work in something you love, which was kind of different than what he was doing. He was manufacturing paper tubes, you know, very like dirty blue collar.
Yeah.
So it was just contrary. It was like, well, you do that, but you're telling us to do this. It probably wasn't until I started working for people that I was like, I disagree with your style or your whatever, and being like, well, there's no other way to get around that unless you do it yourself.
Yep.
So it's kind of definitely not a one pivotal moment, but it was like, I always struggled with like disagreeing, and this is funny, we'll get into this today, but disagreeing and still obeying. Like, I think that's a corporate battle, so we'll definitely, I imagine that's gonna come up, so.
Yeah. So you grew up in Saginaw, Michigan.
Yep.
Did you ever verse Davison, Michigan in sports?
I never did.
Okay.
No, I don't think we ever played Davison.
That's where I grew up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, what, Flint area?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I don't, closest we ever got to that would probably have been like Owasso or St. John's, which is
Okay.
more Lansing, but, yeah.
Got it. And then this is kind of a side question, but just purely out of curiosity. Culinary school, how did that come about?
So in college, I kind of had some rough years academically, and GPA dropped, and I knew I was gonna kind of go into business, and honestly, my GPA dropped low enough that I couldn't get into the business school, but I could get into the hospitality school. And in some rough times, like I lived in a house with 6 other guys one year, and it was like, I found myself waking up and like making breakfast and omelets and like Italian family, my family. So
Okay.
like food in the kitchen was just always part of my life. And I was like, dude, that makes me really happy, like cooking for people.
Yeah.
I could do that. So that's what got me into like the hospitality school.
Okay.
And crushed that and realized I didn't want to be like a manager of a restaurant. I wanted to cook. And at the time, it was like, 5 years. Grand Rapids is a big city, but it's also a really small city.
Right.
Had actually gone through like a bad breakup at the end of college. And I was like, I need to just get out of this place and go where no one knows me. And my minor was Italian, and my family's Italian, so I was like, I want to go to Italy. Blessed, my dad helped make that happen, and spent a year in Florence, Italy.
Wow.
And did like a 1-year intensive Italian culinary school.
That's amazing.
Yeah, very cool.
It was very cool, just living there, and again, not knowing anybody,
Right.
meeting people from all over the world. It was awesome.
Kind of a reset season in a way.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a piece of it where you're like, no one knows me, who am I? And when someone meets you that's never known you, they only know the you in that moment. And so you get a bit of a feel for like, okay, this is definitely true to who I am, irregardless of what's around me, because none of these people know me and they say this about me, or I,
Right.
in that way, so.
Yeah.
Are you the cook in the family then?
Weirdly, it's hard. My wife's actually cooking her way through a cookbook right now. She's
really?
doing a great job, and she just made her first sourdough. So
Oh,
like,
sweet, yeah.
we're totally that family. But yeah, with the kids, it's hard because you cook and they don't always eat what you cook. So it's like, you make cheeseburgers and mac and cheese and that stuff. So
Gourmet mac and cheese?
no, Kraft Blue Box, because they won't eat gourmet mac and cheese.
For sure. They don't know what's good.
They fight over white and yellow mac and cheese. So it's like,
yeah.
But I would say she cooks way more right now than I do. And then when we have events at the Broadway, I'm gone. So like, for sure she's cooking on Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
So yeah, she cooks a lot right now.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Cool. So that time that you spent in Italy, I know you also mentioned as you went through your story that there was a time where you were going to church by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I guess when was that season of where you felt that thing was missing?
Yeah, probably 2012, 13 into, 2012, 2013. I was the executive chef at Rockwell and Republic, left there, went to the Winchester in Easttown, left there, ended up at a hotel for a brief stint, which was not a great experience. And then a friend of mine had opened a restaurant in Ada. And he was like, dude, just come out and help. And at that point, I was like, I need to open my own restaurant. I know what I want to do. I know what I like to cook. I need to do this. So I started working for him just so that I could have more free time. And of course, I started coaching at a high school, so there was no free time. But that was the thing. It's like I just kept adding more. And it just still felt incomplete. So like I just started going to church, and I was like, this is something that's missing. You know, I had always gotten to church in college. You know, just it was there, even though there was a mess around me. So I just started going again. And it really wasn't until I left food indefinitely. So like I had gone to my dad and I just said, hey, listen, I want to open a restaurant. You know, I have a business plan. I need money. You have money, I don't. So he just kind of was like, well, come work for me at the factory. Because I can treat you differently than my employees because you're my son. And if you can get your restaurant open, I'll help. If you can't, you'll have made some money working for me. And then that was kind of the point where I was out of food, and then I met Hannah. And that's kind of that moment where things started to get more serious. I had been praying about meeting a wife for years. Took some steps on like, you know, I was like, God, I feel like I'm ready, and I had my house, I had my finances in order, like things were getting in order, and I was like, I'm ready for a wife. And I even made a decision to like stop. Went celibate. Just said if I'm serious about a wife, I gotta be serious about like my actions towards that. So yeah, that's 2012, 13 to 15 was that moment.
That's really cool. And I mean, it sounds like a lot of these things like happen one at a time, like in a row. When you started going back to church, was there like a level of conviction where you were like feeling that pressure in a good way, or your eyes being opened in a good way for those other aspects of your life to give attention to those in that way?
In the moment, probably not. Like I can't look back and be like, yeah, I felt really convicted. I think more than anything, it was just the absence of like church and structure. And then you look back at it years later and you're like, wow, like the work that was happening without me even seeing it or knowing it. You know, it's like wanting a wife and then feeling convicted to like, okay, well, you can't be sleeping with women and going out and doing those things if like your intention is the opposite, is to be with someone for the rest of your life. So like convictions happen. I think that's God changing your heart. He'll give you the desires of your heart, but he'll renew your mind. So it's like what you're thinking about changes when he's in your heart. So like I don't think you see it. I think you look back at it and you're like, wow, I had no idea that was even happening, even though I was taking these steps.
That's good. So time period wise, went to Italy, came back, work in the factory, starting restaurant. What's kind of the next step as you are working factory and starting the restaurant in the process of that?
Yeah. So working in the factory, started on the shop floor, just like my dad was like, if you're gonna learn this, you gotta learn every single machine, run them, stack them, like you gotta do it all. And within a year, I met Hannah, my now wife. And that kind of like, that was like a quick thing. The very first date, we met at a wedding, oddly enough. And that's even another crazy story. So meet at the wedding. I'll go into details if you want later, but
Yeah, do it.
at the wedding, she told her friend, she pointed at me and said, I'm gonna marry that man.
Oh, wow.
Never met her in my life. Yeah.
This was prior to
Wow.
talking to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Confidence.
She saw me with my head bowed, intently listening to the dad praying over dinner. And I was just like, I was nodding my head and intentionally listening, maybe praying an intercession, I don't know. And she looked over and she said like, I'm gonna marry that guy.
Wow.
So months go by, we finally get on a date, stupid me, I'm like working in the factory, trying to start a restaurant, coaching track and field, and I'm like, my buddy, the groom, was like, hey, this girl's been asking about you, I think you guys would really hit it off, like she's an athlete, she loves music, like all these things. So finally, like, I wanna say it was like 2 months after the wedding, we finally get on a date. Went on the date, walked her to her car, kissed her goodnight, went to my truck, and I was like, God, did you just send her to me? First date. 3 months later, proposed. Like it was new.
Yeah.
That's God, dude, and there's
Wow.
no other way, because everybody's like, oh, 3 months, like you're crazy. This is the rest of your life. I'm like, yeah, but I know. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know how else to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So, hit me with the question again, because I slid off there.
Yeah, so originally it was a restaurant.
Yeah.
We're in the beginning stages of the restaurant building.
Yep. So, because of Hannah and all of that happening, the restaurant stopped. So I was like, this is stupid. Why would I go and be working these crazy hours again when I'm trying to have a family?
Right.
My schedule was already, 6 a.m. starting at the factory to 4. And then I would go coach. I was coaching at Lowell High School at the moment. So I'm sorry, Davenport University. Now I coached a lot. And so like I'd coach from 4 to 9,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'd try to hang out with Hannah, and she was like, "What? This isn't gonna work. Like if you're real about me, I desire more of your time." So by 2016, the spring summer was the last season I coached. So we're already engaged, and then we got married in 17. So really, meeting Hannah was the halt of restaurant dreams, because it just didn't. I had already lived that life, and I knew having a wife and wanting kids and that family, like
Mm-hmm.
12-hour days every weekend, every holiday, like when you guys all get to celebrate Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, like we're working in kitchens and
Yeah.
restaurants. So it's like I knew it wasn't gonna happen. I wanted a family, I wanted a wife, so that was really the end of the restaurant.
Was that a hard reality for you, or at that point you were already just like,
Not hard at all.
I'm glad to be done?
Yep. I was glad to have Hannah.
Okay.
Like it wasn't hard at all.
Mm.
Not a bit. And to know that I was just gonna be working at a factory, like I was doing the traditional now. Like
Mm-hmm.
just gonna go to work every day. I don't love it, I'm not passionate about it, but I'm just gonna go work and provide for my family.
Right. How far did you get into the restaurant? Like, did you open the restaurant, or was it still in the grassroots?
No, I had my business
Phase.
plan. Honestly, the farthest I got was looking for real estate.
Got it.
And I had found one. It was down by Founders. I think they call it, I don't want to say the Horseshoe, but where I was actually meeting with a realtor and like talking about rent structure, and like got that far, but nothing ever opened. Never
Okay.
dropped a dime on it. Like didn't exhaust money. So it was just kind of like a idea that never happened.
Yeah. Looking back, I guess that was a blessing, right?
Yeah.
100%.
So all the transitioning points, you end up start like cutting off some things,
Mhm.
like the business.
Yeah.
Of pursuing that.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like early on in marriage where you guys had to manage all this extra time that you were essentially, I don't want to say wasting, but you were just using this extra time. You eventually got to that point where that had to be cut off, leading up to now your business with the venue. What did that look like for managing, that was 5 years from quitting, pursuing the restaurant to the venue is roughly
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
So like, we got married in January of 17. Had our first kid in 17. Bought the Broadway building in January of, I want to say January of 18. Maybe it was March. So there wasn't much time.
So within a year
Yeah.
of finishing restaurant, I
Yeah.
did like that
It was,
idea.
yes,
You were in
yes.
the venue.
It was, honestly, it was like, we got married. I had stopped coaching. It was just at the factory, and we had one kid. And I missed coaching. I was actually on LoopNet looking for buildings to like do my own coaching thing, like a workout facility, throwing facility, whatever. And this church pops up, and then I ran, I'm like, oh, that could work, like vaulted ceilings, like this could work. And I showed it to Hannah, and she's like, that would be an amazing wedding night. We're literally laying in bed, and it was like, I think we saw it, went and looked at it, and within 3 months, bought it, owned it.
Wow.
Yeah. So there wasn't much time wasted.
Yeah, no, not at all.
There wasn't.
Yeah, yeah, God was seriously putting it on your heart, like move
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can see the benefit out of that.
Yeah.
Like I've got family and friends that were married at the Broadway,
That's awesome. Thank you.
and I've been in there and it's been incredible. Like, did you guys have to do many renovations? Like, there were pews in there.
Oh
I
yeah.
imagine this place was probably near gutted.
Yeah. We bought it and it was condemnable. So we bought it from Deliverance Outreach Ministry. They had stopped congregating there. I think their congregation shrank during the years, and it's a big church. I mean, standing water in the basement, mold, animal droppings everywhere. I mean, it was bad. So yeah, it was a full gut. It was a huge financial project. Like, it took a lot of money to get where it is now. And it was, I removed, I think it was like 32 pews. I did a lot of the demo with myself and friends and father-in-law and dad, and it's like, we're not ready to dump money. We don't have any money to dump into it yet. So it's like ripping out carpet, ripping out the pulpit.
Yep.
I always joke, this is kind of like sacrilegious joking, but like the wooden archway that's there in the main space that a lot of couples get married at. This is where you were standing, like the big arch, the wooden archway. Those doors used to slide open and the baptismal was back there.
Oh, cool.
And now our keg cooler's back there. So like, it's just kind of one of those jokes I make now.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, jeez. Like,
Who designed
yeah,
this?
right. And I'm like, I ripped out that whole baptismal, and now it's like a keg cooler, and it's okay.
But we see in the Bible, like, Jesus celebrated weddings.
Yep.
There was drinking there.
Yep.
And that was like, that's a part of life
Yeah.
that we get to enjoy
Yes.
within reason. And
Yes.
so it is a funny thing to joke about, though.
Yeah. And we got that a lot during, I'm sure what we're gonna talk about later, but people say all the time, like, oh, cool, open bar, like good Christian business owners just letting people get ripped up. And I'm like, the open bar now is just like what the parents of the bridegroom would do. They were supposed to provide everything at their expense for people to come celebrate and enjoy. What we do now is we take that and go, sweet, I can get hammed up because it's open bar and I don't have to pay for it. So it's that within reason, right? It's
Mhm.
like, it's a respect and a thank you that it's open bar for coming to celebrate and hopefully guide our family, our new married couple in life. It's a thank you. It's
Mhm.
not like a
Yeah, exactly.
get after it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
Mhm.
Yep.
So you're right.
very cool.
It's a matter of self-restraint.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not the thing, it's the individuals using the thing in
Mhm.
this case.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's helpful. So I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, this will be helpful to hear and touch on. But at the beginning, I know you were saying like we were doing demo, like we didn't have the funds to just pour into this. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves in that scenario. Like I'm getting this thing started, funds are tight, I have to figure out how to do this. How did you fund it at the beginning?
A couple ways. Number one is like sweat equity. I think every entrepreneur should have that tattooed on their heart. You know, my dad's business that I worked at was bought out by a larger manufacturing packaging company, and that helped in a way. Like we got money for that, and myself, which helped buy the building, which gave us some money to do some things, but that was more like we need to hold that for when things get real. I think any entrepreneur should go into things going, what can I do, right? Like I looked at this giant building and I'm like, well, they literally just left it. So there was like a kids section where there was just books, made shelves of books. So like, okay, we can donate these, we can pick these up and take them somewhere, that's free, you know, sweat equity. So I think everybody, you just gotta look at things and say, okay, what can I do? What costs money, tangible dollars that I have to pay someone or something, like dumpsters. You know, it was like a couple $100 for one dumpster, and I think we went through 10 dumpsters.
Yep.
So it's like, well, that adds up. That's a couple $1,000. Like, did we plan for that? Maybe did, you know, like everything costs something, but you can chip away at things. And like, you know, the fact that we ripped out all the carpet, we ripped out, you know, walls and pews. We tried to sell the pews. You can't imagine, like, you go online for church pews, there's like a racket out there.
Really?
There's a lot of places that want them, and you can donate them or they'll buy them. But we just put it up on like Facebook Marketplace, and we had a couple people come pick them. They were big. But yeah, there's tons of work that every entrepreneur should be prepared to do and willing to do, because it's necessary. It also, in the long run, it's like I said, every time I'm near that spot, I'm like, I remember ripping out that baptism. It was a pain. So it's like, it's also that moment of like, I'm actually more grateful for what we have now because of what that had to be done.
That's good. Really quick, for the sake of the audience, could you just explain what the Broadway is?
Yeah.
Because I know we've kind of mentioned like the venue and kind of given hints of it, but
Yeah. So the Broadway Avenue, my wife and I own it. It is a wedding and event venue.
okay.
Located on the west side, Leonard and Broadway Avenue, classic name. So we are, I think at this point, like 93% weddings. We do a lot of smaller events too, bridal showers, baby showers, private engagements.
First of.
Yeah.
First of
And
many.
inside of the Broadway Avenue, so we have a liquor license through the state, and we provide the bar service for all of our events. We also have a catering kitchen. So that's kind of my part in this is I do all the food now, so I'm back in food.
Yeah.
But it's inside the building. So weddings, small events, we've got little breakout rooms. So like we try to get into that space. It's just hard when God's blessing you with a bunch of weddings, so
Yeah.
kind of take what you get. But yeah, it's a big, beautiful space. My
Yeah.
wife did an amazing job. She did all the like design and decor. So
When you guys first opened after all of that sweat equity
Mhm.
and a ton of financial investment,
yeah,
what was the first like main channel of revenue and such? Was it you guys just went straight into weddings, or did you already have all the different like the liquor license and the catering?
Yep.
Was it all at once, or what did that look
yeah,
like?
that was all part of the plan. So we opened in June of 2022, and the whole like awesome we're open kind of got tainted by what happened to us. But we planned for catering, we planned for liquor, all of that was in place when we opened, and I think we intended to be primary revenue stream weddings.
Okay.
Just it's what Hannah wanted. It made the most sense for spending the money on a kitchen, spending the money on a liquor license, which are crazy expensive. It just was that like a wedding uses all of that every time
Right.
versus say like a corporate sales, gala or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
maybe they'll get some appetizers,
Sure.
probably have an open bar. So it's you kind of like maybe we'll get some of that revenue, but we'll still get the venue booking.
Yeah.
With a wedding, you get the venue booking, and typically they have to use our bar service, but they can use an outside caterer. But so you're really getting the most revenue streams out of doing a wedding.
Got it.
Very cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You mentioned in 2022, there was something that kind of happened there. So I mentioned I had some family that was married there. So it was my sister-in-law and my wife. Actually, when I was listening to your recording, she was sitting there with me in the car, and she said, "Hey, ask him about what happened in 22," because she heard about it. Because I think my sister-in-law was married end of 22
Okay.
or 23, like beginning.
Yeah.
And so the question kind of was like, how have your convictions led you to operate your business with the Broadway Avenue,
Yeah.
being a wedding venue?
Yeah. So we opened in June of 22, and a few weeks prior to the first event, my wife, we were planning like a grand opening, and it was public, like people could come and tour the venue and see it. She made an Instagram post, something along the lines of like, hey, open house, all are welcome. And someone messaged her and was like, all are welcome. Are you an inclusive venue? Meaning, do you host non-traditional same-sex marriages? I don't know how else you say that, the not right way, that's
Yeah.
that's bad to say, but do you host LGBTQIA+ weddings? And my wife was like, hey, I just got this message. And I'm like, what do you want to say? She's like, well, we're Christians. We run a Christian house. We're gonna run a Christian business. And I was like, yeah, that's right. So she wrote her back and pretty much said that, like, hey, this is, how we run our household, this is the marriage we have, and this is how we're gonna run our business. And that post back to the person, she then took it and spewed it on the internet, and it went viral.
Really?
Yeah, like I think the very first thing hit 1 million views.
Wow.
Yeah. So great, we're opening, but like all this is going on. So we had 3 weddings in June, and then I think it was right around July 4th weekend, we were camping, I remember. So it's like, that's when the post went viral. So we had hosted a couple events, I think it was festering, and then like, boom, it hit. And our opening was like July 11th, something like that. And going through it, like I was not prepared. I didn't think, you see the things on the internet of like maybe a little more liberal city, woke cities, Portland comes to mind. Like you just see those things going on. You're like, not in Grand Rapids.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm sure we'll get some heat, but like nothing like what we got.
Yeah.
So we have our event, protest, we're gonna come protest, we're gonna shut this down, we're going to the city, and they petition, they go to the city comes at us for a civil rights ordinance that we're, discriminating against that group. So yeah, like year one sucked. I mean, it just was like all the joy of opening a business got taken away
Right.
because we just went on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where so you talk about revenue, when you have this business, you have contract revenue or contract like bookings, right? I'm going to get married at the Broadway, I'm gonna sign a contract, I'll give you your down payment, 6 months later, give me the rest, blah, blah, blah. From June, and then you have your held event revenue. So now it's your wedding day, and then you owe us the rest of your food and bar and the balance. From June to December, when that was going on, we had 0 bookings. No one booked with us because of it. Now, whether they're in the LGBTQ community, they're supporting that community, so then therefore not doing business with us. I think there's a Christian group that didn't want to deal with being bold and associating with us.
In the spotlight.
And then there's like the middle group of kind of like, I don't know, I don't really care. Either way, I don't really care. So that was that year, and going through it, dude, I was not ready. And I kept saying to Hannah, I'm like, we gotta get out of this. Like, what are we doing? We're not booking anything. And she just kept saying, like, we're standing for the Lord. Wow. And my faith, right? In my faith, I was like, that doesn't mean anything to me yet. It just didn't, it had no weight to, I was in business only mind, which is like,
the numbers.
I know what we just got from the bank, and 0 coming in means 0 going to them, which means they have right to take our homes, our cars, this building, this everything. So I'm thinking, okay, how do we get out of this? We got to sell this, we got to whatever. Now I look back on it and I'm like, God was just using that. It sounds selfish, but I'm like, that was for me. To be where I'm at now, I had to do that. I had to go through that. And again, you just don't always see it when you're in it. So now, to the question being like, how do my convictions lead our business now? All I think about is the kingdom. It's not about dollar revenue. It's like, how are we going to grow God's kingdom through this build? There was a point where I literally just prayed a submission. I'm like, God, the building's yours, the business is yours, everything's yours. Do with it what you want, and I'm just here. And like that changes everything. So then when you get someone that wants to use the venue to propose, you're like, heck yeah, like, and then this happens. It's like obedience, right? But also just like, we had a wedding tasting, a menu tasting 2 weeks ago, a week ago, something like that, where whoever has booked with us, they get to come in, I cook the menu for them, and then they get to choose their options. And this was a bigger one, so there's like 55 guests, maybe 14 couples, and then their guests. And I always pray before we release them to go eat the food. And I usually just, it's, a simple prayer, but like I always say something along the lines of like, Lord, if the couples that are here know you already, we just pray your Holy Spirit into their marriage, that they continue to put you first. And if there's couples here that don't know you, we just pray that at some point, you come into their lives. just a,
Mhm.
an honest, simple prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And like I went downstairs, was cleaning up the kitchen with the guys, and then like a couple came downstairs and they just said, I love that prayer.
Mm.
I was like, thanks. It's God's words through me. And they brought that part up. Like, if people don't know him yet, like, will they? And maybe they will because of our business.
Mm.
I want people to just think of the Broadway and just think, yeah, God's got that. Like,
Wow.
it's his. So that's how my going through all of that
Yeah.
leads to that.
Very
Mm.
cool. Yeah, and now you see what sticking true to like your convictions of, okay, yeah, this is completely, I mean, you saw how out of control it was. It was not in your hands. And then for God to carry you through that, and then for, I mean, how many weddings have you done through there?
Oh, 145-ish in
That
3 years.
Is a blessing to
Yeah.
all of those families and anybody that's ever stepped foot in that building. Truly.
Yeah.
Like that is, like, praise be to God for that.
Amen.
Mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool to see the struggle and then the victory through it as
Mhm.
well. And then the surrender as well, because that's like probably the biggest part of if we want to succeed in anything, we need to be like this, open-handed, to be able to receive and let go of anything that comes and goes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think closing our fist is closing a door as
Mhm.
well. And
Yeah.
I think that's really admirable that you and your wife did that together.
It's yeah. It was a long and that's like I think a lot of people, we'll say Christian business owners, entrepreneurs, they do business and then they do Christian life.
Mm.
And I think what needs to happen is you do Christian life and inside of that you own a business.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
So and it's complete surrender. You have no control. You
Yeah.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for you to give some insight on what it looked like within your marriage, because it sounded like there wasn't really a plan necessarily, like you weren't deal hunting for a venue specifically, is at least what I gathered. One pops up, you make an offer, you get things going, hard construction process, and then you hit this crazy wall, like 6 straight months of 0 revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's still expenses.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to just speak to behind the scenes, ways that you guys grew together within your marriage, hardships, for people that are in that season of struggle.
Yeah, honestly, I think we grew apart more than we grew together in the beginning of it.
Hmm.
I think we both had different mindsets of how to handle it. Like I said, Hannah was like we're standing for God, that's all that matters. She probably cared about it, but she didn't worry about it. There's a difference. I worried about it. And so I think in the beginning it was like Nick brain goes, I need to fix this. I was still hanging on like this, like, okay, how can we get our money out? How can we salvage life? How can I do all of this? And it was, probably, it was years. I mean, 2 years. 2024 was like a big year for me. And I would say the beginning of 2024, end of 23, like, I felt like I was just kind of like, I was in the factory, playing a manager role, and I would wear that hat and give as much as I could. And then I would need to come home and be husband, and I could only do that hat and a little bit, and a dad. And then I would have to go do the prepping and the catering. It got dark for me, dude. I got back into drinking a lot, and it was secretive. Like a lot of people in my life, they're like, oh man, how are you doing this? You're a dad, you're a business owner, you also have a job and you have kids, like you're just crushing it. And I was just like, yeah, I am. And then I would go sit and drink by myself in the kitchen and prep. So it wasn't until like I realized how it was becoming a problem, and I was in Ada Bio men's group because I was just like, I need something, because it was that feeling again of like everything that I'm doing isn't enough. And so I'm looking for answers. Joined that men's group, they were awesome. Just very, I think, very welcoming to like being broken. And I needed that, because I was denying that I was. And so did that for a couple years, and then I felt like we started to feel a business shift, that things were getting better. So we had someone come in and coach us. We hired a sales rep. We started seeing like we're selling weddings, and we're getting there. And I felt lacking as a husband. I felt like I was always falling short for Hannah. And maybe you see it, like you see all these like Navy SEAL Christian businessmen, right? Like come to our camp, and I kept seeing them. I'm like, I need that. It was part of like the athlete inside of me, and I needed something like that. And then I saw a video, Champions in Christ Ministry, Steve Weatherford, like ex-NFL Super Bowl champion, and it just seemed real, and it felt like a coach to me, and I was like, I need that. And I messaged on Instagram, and maybe it was a bot, maybe it's really him. I believe now it was him. He wrote back, what you got? And I explained everything, and he's like, yeah, dude, I'll hook you up with our team and this is what we do. And so July of 2024, I went to what's called a launching pad down in Texas, the home base for their ministry, and it is the craziest, wildest, Holy Spirit filled experience you'll ever go to. Unbelievable. Like, just, I was like literally just in tears the whole weekend. Like, wow. Yeah, dude, you can't explain it. I still have a 24-minute video on my phone that I recorded in the hotel room that night, because they even tell you, like, don't try to explain it. No one's going to understand it. They're going to think you're crazy. Just document it somehow. And then from that, it goes into their Kingdom Man Accelerator, which is like a coaching, Christian coaching, how to become a kingdom man. Like, we're here for God's kingdom, and how do we do that? That was when slowly God was starting to pull us back together. I mean, there was some days where I don't even think we would say a word to each other, and then we would sleep next to each other. And you got to work through, right? Like, it's easy to point and be resentful and blame. It's not easy to look in the mirror and go, yeah, dude, you're not. And that's what that ministry really did for me. They were like, cool, you don't like your situation? Well, what are you doing? Are you praying? Are you reading the word? Are you stewarding? That's a big word, like stewarding. And if you're not, it is on you, but you're not going to do it just with Nick. You have to do it with God. Like, it has to be the Holy Spirit that's walking you. You can't live in the flesh anymore. You have to live in the Spirit. And even now, like, I mean, I think as you start to do those things and you think about like a spiritual battle going on, there is. And I think the enemy gets scared. I really do. When men start to walk in it, I think the enemy really gets scared, and then he pulls his stunts, and it's like, so in the last couple of years, 2024 to now, like, we are back together. Doesn't mean things are perfect every single day in a marriage. The last 2 weeks, like last week, it's been amazing. The week before that, it was a rough one. But I think that's the recognition of those things and getting to the point where you can be unoffendable. Like, you know, that's a, because then you're not, what happens when you're offended? You snap back, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I can take it. I hear you. I'm not offended by that. And then you just start to do things differently.
Is that I'd love for you to speak more to, and I guess clarify, is that a group you're still a part of? What does that look like now?
Yeah. I am still connected to Champions in Christ. After graduate KMA, it's a 12-week process. I then went back and coached. So I did coaching in KMA 12. And then I'm actually coaching right now in KMA 18. But the biggest thing from it is like, multiple group chats with men from this ministry, specifically my KMA group, plus other guys that have just wanted to be connected to it. I think I've got like a group chat with 30 guys, and that's the best part, is a brotherhood. I think about, like, you know, Jesus could have done it alone. He could have, right? He's God. But he showed us, like, he went out and chose 12. He needed brotherhood. So I think it was an example for us to say, you can't do it. If I had to choose 12, if Jesus had to choose 12, like, you have to have a brotherhood. And these dudes are just, like, yeah, I think of, like, not having them and just friends in general. My friends are great. I'm not bashing them at all, but, like, it's very typical when you're like, hey dude, you know, Hannah and I had a rough week. And then, let's go grab a beer. Let's go grab a drink and talk about it, right? And you don't, the game's on or whatever, it's like you never talk about it. You just go have the beer or the drink and nothing comes from it. These guys, it's like, dude, I need prayer. Like, it's been a rough week. And it's not just like, oh, sorry, bro, I pray for you. It's like, what happened? What did you do? Like, explain it, because we're men, right? We mess up. That's been the best part about it is having that brotherhood.
It's really cool. That's actually really helpful too to hear that. 'Cause I know we've had a lot of discussions as we've started IntentionALL. That's kind of our mastermind group, and just thinking through, like, what is the tangible value here. And one of the conclusions that we came to is a big piece of it is the network, like just doing this thing together. So this podcast, our group, but having people that we can go to that are trusted. And I know the group you're a part of is Christian men, but who do I go to for counsel when I'm facing these issues? Or when this hard thing's going on, who can I reach out to that will actually care?
Yeah.
And not only care and say what happened, but say, how did you contribute, and hold you accountable, I think is super
accountability,
helpful.
big one.
Yeah.
It's because we can fudge it, you know, to ourselves.
Yep.
But, like, one of the things you have to do in KMA is you download Habit Share, and you make 8 daily disciplines, and then you share them. So if I put a red dot for 2 weeks straight on being in the Word, someone can message me and be like, hey, maybe things aren't going great because you're not in the Word. You know, it's that accountability. It's life-changing, really. It is.
So how long have you been a part of KMA now?
So, 2024, July of 24, I went to my launching pad. So really, Champions in Christ, big umbrella, Champions in Christ ministry. And then KMA is just like one facet. It's their Kingdom Man Accelerator program. So I did mine in the fall of 2024. which was a crazy time when I was leaving my job to go full time just as like Broadway. And then right after it, we ended up, a group of us from my KMA captained together in another one, and then I'm in my third one. So still part of Champions in Christ. KMA is just like these 12-week moments where, you know, I was talking to one of the guys that I captained in 12, and I was like, yeah, I just feel like I want to captain again. And he was like, they need captains right now. And I'm like, I called my buddy and I'm like, hey, chef, I want a captain. He's like, perfect. We need 2 more captains for 18. You start next week. And I was like, okay, here we go. Back in it. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
I know you mentioned November of 24, and we can jump to that after. What advice would you give to guys that are maybe a part of a different mastermind, or even for us in our situation, we're starting this mastermind? What have been some of the most beneficial parts, and then just what general advice would you give to them?
Yeah, the first word that like came to mind is authenticity. Like, you gotta be authentic. So I think for me with Champions in Christ, like, you know, you have this NFL kicker, Super Bowl champion, Muscle magazine, like Steve Weatherford, he's a big deal in those realms. And you get concerned about, like, is it real? Like, you know, is he authentic? Dude, when I was there, I was at the hotel, I walked to the launching pad, and I was like getting ready to leave. You do 1,000 lunges, by the way, at this launch. Legitimately 1,000 lunges. And I'm like, I can't walk. And he was like, where'd you stay? I'm like, I'm just at the hotel. He goes, I'll give you a ride, man. Got there, I shared my story about the Broadway organically, prayed for me in the, like, it's authentic. So I think authenticity is huge. The next, I would say, would be the unoffendable part. You're probably, in your authenticity, gonna say some things that people don't like. It's just gonna happen, especially if it's biblically true. It's bound to be heard by somebody who disagrees and feels like it's offensive. So, like us, I tell everybody, I'm like, it's gas on a fire. It blows up quick, and it goes back down. You just gotta be able to stand the heat for a minute.
Right.
So yeah, to me, those are the 2 big things. Like, if you're doing it, and especially when it comes to doing it in the Christian realm, like authenticity. Like, I've said some things today, like, I know there's people that know me from back then that are like, dude, you used to do some things. And I'm like, yep. It was a different walk. I was not walking in the Spirit. I wasn't submitted. I wasn't, you know, you can't beat around that. So being authentic is huge, and just being able to say, like, yep, I did some really dumb things. God still loves me. I'm forgiven, and I'm submitted now, so it's totally different.
Right.
Which kind of goes into the unoffendable, because it could be like, screw you, dude, you did dumb things too, right? It's like, I'll just take it. I did it. You can own that.
I see you have some tattoo right there.
Yeah,
What's
I have
that?
a couple. This is just my great grandma. We got a bunch of us got it when she turned 100.
Wow.
Back in 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one over here and one on my back. Just a knife, like a kitchen, the first chef's knife I ever bought, and then like something I drew when I was, you know, my initials or something like that.
Yeah. That's fun. That's cool. 100 years. That is a great life.
She made it to 110. She died like weeks before her 111th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, like old Sicilian,
Yeah.
lived by herself in her house. Just like crazy cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Is that something we said about Italian food?
I think there's something in the blood. Yeah. I should say that on a Christian podcast. There is something in the blood. No, I mean, I can think back, they had a garden in the back. Like, my great grandpa made his own wine. Like, they just lived, you know, when you go to other places, Italy, I'm sure France, other places, like, they don't have Meyer. You know what I'm saying? Like, you eat what's in season that's grown around you. You know, I think that's a food scene thing. Grand Rapids is like local. But, you know, like my kids are like, when are we getting blueberries next? I'm like, blueberries, they're from Peru right now. Like, we're not, it's not fresh. It's not good for your body. I think she ate, she cooked all of her food. She grew her food. Like, I think there's something to be said about that. Yeah. And she would say a glass of wine every day.
Yeah.
Red wine.
Yeah.
Gotta be red.
That's very cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, man.
Did you want to jump to November 2024? I know you briefly flew over that.
Yeah, so during KMA, let me say it like this. We were starting to see business become like tractionable. Like, it was like, we hired a sales rep. She, in her first month, I think she booked, I want to say 10 or 13 events.
Wow. What
And
year
this-
was this?
This is 2024. Like,
Okay.
we hired her in July. We paid for some like wedding venue sales marketing coach. Literally flew him up from Texas, owns multiple wedding venues, went through our books, went through a tour. So, you know, we give tours. That's how it kind of works, is inquiry. Yep, let us show you the place, tour. And at the tour, you're trying to sell and book. And he's like, no offense, you guys aren't good at tours. You need a salesperson. And we're like, okay. So we hired a sales rep, and she came in guns a-blazing and just like crushed it. From July to the end of the year, I think she booked like 45 or 50 events. Just crushing it. And so we started to see that as like, okay, if this is consistent, then we really have an opportunity. Like, we hadn't paid ourselves yet. We don't even have paychecks. It's like, we kind of just took as we needed, but my job paid for everything. Mostly. We were still, and this is part of the big story, good salary, 6-figure salary, bonus, like benefits, health, corporate, plant manager job.
So this is at the manufacturing.
This is at the manufacturing. So at this point, we're owned by a global packaging group, conglomerate, whatever you want to call it. And it's in the paper industry. So we manufactured paper tubes and cores. So think of like the inside of a toilet paper, but really strong for like plastic film, papers, etc. Good job. Paid great. It was good. Took care of everything. Still felt like we were living paycheck to paycheck. Part of the Broadway, because now we're like, and so we started to see the sales rep doing her job and just crushing it, and we're like, okay, this is real. And then in KMA, we do 1 week where it's time mastery, and you do an exercise called 168. There's 168 hours in a week, and you literally have to go through each day, each hour, and write down what you're doing. It's also then where you can, right, because I don't have time to do that. Now you really know if you do or don't. And I found I was either asleep or at my job for 77% of the 168. And at the time, so I have a Barnabas brother, it's part of the structure. You basically get a Barnabas brother, and it's like your guy. You become best friends immediately. And he is an electrician in Indiana, entrepreneur, young guy, like 29 or 30 at the time. And we're chatting through the assignment. He's like, bro, you need to leave your job. And I'm like, what? Like, out of the blue. Not like it was like we kind of joked about it. He was like, you think about your life right now, and you give this much to your job. You give this much to your business, maybe this much to your wife and kids, and it's like, just imagine if you gave all of this to any of that, how much better would it be? I was like, okay, it's a Holy Spirit smack in the face, like, that's great. And that's him, dude. Like, we called him the Catalyst. And he also looked just like Aiden Hutchinson. So it's like Baby Hutch and the Catalyst. So I'm like, wow, dude, I gotta think about that. And he's like, don't think about it, just do it. I'm like, I can't. He's like, yes, you can. I'm like, well, I gotta think about it, and like, Hannah and I gotta map this out. So we start going through by the penny. Also, I'm gonna pause and like jump in God stories within the God story. Hannah and I were terrible at finances together. Like, we just do things totally different. That it was always like, right, like, wow, why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? It's like, we never worked together on finances. It was always an argument. It just ended in arguments all the time. So then I'm like, hey, I'm gonna quit my job. We need to talk money. So we sit down and we're like, okay, bills. And we start going through everything. I mean, to the penny. And then we come up with like, okay, here's like, your categories. Here's school tuition, here's gas, here's grocery, here's utilities, fixed expense. Just really like working together. And I'm like, here's what we need every single month. She's like, okay, can we do that? And I was like, I don't know. So then I'm like, I go to my job and I'm like, okay, I look at my 401k and never really looked at it before, just let the money go into it. And there's a good amount of money in there. So then I go through trying to figure out like what that looks like to get that money. And I tell my accountant, I'm like, hey, I'm leaving my job and I gotta cash out my 401k. You gotta cash it out, not roll it over, cash it out. And he's like, send me everything, don't do anything yet. I send him everything, and a week later he comes back to me, he's like, never have I ever, nor will I ever tell someone to cash out their 401k, except for right now. He's like, dude, you've paid so much taxes in already, you could not pay the taxes on it. You could pay all the taxes on it, you're gonna get a big tax return, but like, I don't know how, but do it. You're good.
What?
Yeah. So I tell Hannah, I'm like, okay, that money can get us to June. This is all in this October, November realm, leading up to the 14th.
So when you were putting the money in, taxes were already paid, so you're pulling it out tax-free, or can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so, right, your paycheck, you pay federal taxes on all your paychecks.
Yep.
The 401k, the one that it was, I can't remember if it was Roth or IRA, the one where you have to pay taxes to get it out.
Yep.
Right? So, the reason he said that was, I, on my paycheck, paid all my federal taxes consistently the right way. The Broadway, because everything funnels through as a business, right? We have Whole LLC, which is our like bigger umbrella, and then the Broadway Avenue LLC. Those get filed, and then we were showing a loss through depreciation and just general tax, right? So that loss then goes against my personal or our personal taxable income. So because this was such a big loss still, and I was making a good amount, that loss got subtracted, so it looked like I made 2/3 less than what I really did. So he's saying, you're good because I paid so much in our depreciation and loss.
Got it.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay, so venue was the missing puzzle piece. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and this is, again, like God's like sitting over here being like, remember that you gave this to me, I'm gonna use it, you just don't know when. So I show Hannah, I'm like, okay, that 401k cashed out can take us to June. And then we know that we're gonna get a larger tax return because our accountant kind of says, well, yeah, if you're gonna pay, you're already gonna get a tax return because of depreciation. If you go ahead and pay all the taxes on the 401k within the calendar year of 2024, that's even more taxes you didn't need to pay. So you're gonna get that back in your return. So I'm like, well, great, that'll get us, we should be able to almost last a whole year. So then I'm like, okay, are we doing this? And she's like, yeah. So I was planning to put in my notice on November 15th. And my boss a couple weeks later was like, hey, I'm gonna come up to Grand Rapids because he was from down south, and I was like, okay, when are you traveling? I just knew he always flew on Monday, and he got to the plant on Tuesdays. Clockwork, it never changes. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be there Thursday. Like, why? I didn't say this to him. Like, so then I told my buddy that worked with me, one of my good friends. I was like, he's gonna come fire me. There was already some stuff going on, and he was like, no, why would they fire you? And I'm like, I just know it. I'm like, why would he? He's gonna travel. There's a plant in Saginaw. He's gonna go to Saginaw. He's gonna ask that plant manager, could you oversee Grand Rapids? In the interim, we're gonna fire Nick. And then he's gonna come here on Thursday and he's gonna fire me. He's like, no way. Exactly what happens. So the big picture we can get to, like that moment, like maybe 6 months to a year later, like I look back and I'm like, that was the moment where God had to take something from me. Like all those times where I'm like, I have to fix it. I'm going to leave the job. And God was like, yeah, but then you're still doing it. I need to do it. So like he sends my boss and fires me on the 14th. I'm out on the floor doing a safety walk and he's like, hey, he's like, when's your meeting? It was like 8 a.m. Can we get in the conference room before that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. We go in, he's like, can you close the door? I'm like, yeah. I even texted the HR lady because I had this feeling. I'm like, hey, are you traveling this week? And she's like, no, I'm in Atlanta. I was like, okay. And he sits down across from me and he turns his laptop and the HR lady's on the screen. And he's like, this is probably going to come as a bit of a shock, but we're going to part ways today. And I just start smiling. I'm like, not a shock at all. And he's like, there's some stuff we got to go over, but, just if you need to, like, go home, or we went over stuff, and I was like, the only thing, because I already knew, I'm like, do I get a severance? And they said, no. I said, do I get my year-end bonus? And they said, no, you have to be employed at the time of that check being cut. So I'm like, okay. And he's like, I know this is probably a lot. If you need to, like, go home and talk to Hannah and, like, come back and get your stuff tomorrow, I can meet you here. I had already pulled all my files onto a thumb drive from my computer, like personal stuff. I already packed up everything was art. I'm like, I literally just have to grab some pictures. I'd rather go today. I'm like, trust me, I'm good. I'd rather just be out of here today and never come back. And he was like, okay, like he didn't know what to do. And I left and I pulled up into the next parking lot and I sent a video to my men's group, my KMA group. I'm like, hey guys, I just got fired. And like, they're like, who smiles this much when you get fired? And I'm like, I saw it coming. I knew everything that was happening. And then I think I got home and I texted my buddy that worked, he was my supervisor, one of my best friends, best man at my wedding. And I just texted him and the plant manager's name from Saginaw is John. I'll just say John. And I said, hey, is John there yet? And he goes, just pulled in. And I'm like, I knew it, dude. And he's like, how did you, I just felt it, I knew it. And it was like the best thing that could have happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Even just seeing the Lord's timing in that story of, okay, it might not have been bad for you to make that decision, but he was just kind of putting that reminder, like, hey, just a reminder, like, I'm directing you to take this next step. Was just cool.
Yeah, again, not seeing it, and I'm just like, whatever, I was gonna quit tomorrow anyway, right? But it's made me realize, like, there are times where we have to lay something down. Like, we have to surrender, we have to lay it at the cross. But I think there's other times where God's like, I have to take it from you because you haven't submitted or surrendered enough yet. It's like, will you really? I'm gonna take it to see if you're really gonna continue.
That's good. So what's next in general with the Broadway and
I guess it's just God, dude. So we're opening a second wedding venue.
oh wow.
Sweet.
You know, it was this past summer in 25. So one year from launching pad, 6 months after, 7 months after leaving my job, I'm like, babe, we need to take a HELOC out on the house. Like, we got some things, we got some debt, we could consolidate into the home and like pay off we were down to like the last couple credit cards from the Broadway and like all these things. I'm like, we should do this. And sure as heck, Hannah's like, and we talked about moving, like selling the house. We had a lot of equity in our home. And she's like, I just feel the Lord's telling me we have to stay here right now. She's big in end times, so she's there, like, we're gonna get raptured, like, we just need to just not worry about anything else and just get our home in order. I was like, cool. She's like, let's delete Zillow. We're in our 6th house in 9 years of marriage. Like,
Whoa.
we do this, so it's not like this whimsy, like, oh, let's move. It's like, this is normal. We've never brought one kid home to the same first home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that intentional in terms of moving, or just kind
No,
of has
I think it just happened. Like, it was the entrepreneur side. Like, I flipped houses before Hannah. My dad helped me flip houses, so it's like,
Yep.
So anyway, I'm like, okay, great. Like, delete Zillow. I mean, we would just send houses to, and like the $10 million houses, but also like the $150,000 shack.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the kind of God story in that is like the house that we were living in at this time was a house that I tried to grab prior to the Broadway opening as like a cash grab. Like, we needed money. So I found this house. I'm like, great, we'll flip it. We'll make a bunch of money or some money, and that'll help. And then when we got the business loan, it was actually the house that we ended up having to move into because it was such a different price than what we were living in.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I'm like, okay, we're gonna live in this house. And we delete Zillow, and this is June now, and we had our mid-year meeting with our accountant, just like a business recap, which I think is healthy for entrepreneurs. Like, get a good accountant. Just, it's so helpful to sit down with someone who can inject like an outside perspective, because it's, especially if you're in a relationship and the business owners and you're married, like, it's very easy to put your desires into it. So for someone to be like, you guys should not do that, it's very helpful. So we sit down and he's like, you guys this is unbelievable. Like, not many businesses can do what you did in the last year to like flip this around. And we're like, it's all God. Like, we didn't do anything. So we have this great meeting with our accountant, like, hey, you guys, this is June. So at this point, like, the 401k was just running out. We got our state tax return, which is nice. I still, to this day, have not gotten my federal tax return, which is a large chunk of money. And yet, God's still providing. So we finished this meeting. He's like, yeah, you guys should be able to start paying yourselves now, like, consistently. Like, we're gonna work into that. We go home, and Hannah gets an email from a stranger that's like, hey, you don't know me, but my husband and I own this property, and it's operated as a wedding venue, and there's a farmhouse on it that we were renovating into our dream home, but like, family stuff has come up and we're not able to do this anymore. We've been praying about how to get rid of this, who to sell it to, going up at church. We followed your story from the beginning.
Wow.
And before it even goes on the market, we want to offer it to you guys.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, the next day I call my accountant, I'm like, things are changing. And I have all these hard numbers in front of me. So again, okay, if we sell for this and the venue and we do the food, like, I had some real tangible Broadway numbers that I could at least project
Yeah.
what this business would look like. No brainer. So I call the accountant the next day. I'm like, this is what's happening. This is what I'm seeing. He goes, do it. I call the SBA loan officer that has the note for the Broadway, and I'm like, again, God sent, Christian man, believes with us. You know, we went through some struggles. They helped kind of defer some payments to help us get through. And I'm like, we want to do this. And he's like, sounds great on my end. Go for it.
Wow.
So everybody's like, it's a yes, right? So Hannah and I pray about it, and we're just like, you know, God, we want this, but do you want this? And we referenced Gideon, like Gideon's fleece. So it's like, we want you to show, like we needed something to show us.
Yeah.
So like I prayed my prayer and she prayed her, and we prayed together, and like there's some cool stories there. But to get to the end of it, it's like we're living in Lowell in the house with the second wedding venue that's got 8 weddings booked for this year already. But the coolest part was when you go to get a mortgage, like what's one of the first things they ask you for? Pay stubs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't have any pay stubs. Like, well, how are you gonna borrow money? I'm like, I don't know, you tell me. And so they're like, well, you can do this thing called a bank statement loan, which I had never heard of. And they said it's specifically for like 1099 and entrepreneurs, people who don't have like a consistent common paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they do is they take your account and they do an average of deposits over 12 months. And then they say, from that, we're going to assume 50% goes to expenses. And then you're going to assume the other 50% is your potential income.
Mm-hmm.
So God goes, here, let's use the Broadway Avenue bank account. And that process was done with the Broadway Avenue bank account.
Wow.
So it's like, for me, it was that whole full circle of like, remember everything, and you were worried, and like, you wanted to get out, like God takes it. What the enemy uses for evil, God will use for good.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's just that moment where, again, just constant submission and surrender, and then obedience. Like, I feel like we're in this season where God's like, do you trust me yet? Like, do you really? After everything, and now that's where we're going. We have the Broadway, and we have a second wedding venue opening in August. It's called the Alden Grove. It's out in Lowell. And totally different. It's 100% outdoor, surrounded by apple orchards on all sides.
Very cool.
And we live there.
Wow.
And here's another one. In Kingdom and Accelerator, you do a 10-year vision, very common mastermind thing, 10-year, 5-year, 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're laying in bed talking about this potential venue that we're being offered, and Hannah's like, I can just see it, like, 5 acres, we have land, we could do like a pool area, we could have more animals, we have chickens, like we could get more animals, and like a sport court. And I'm like, hold on. And I go on my nightstand and I grab my handwritten 10-year vision. And under family, it says, we live in our dream home with land, with a pool, with a sport court area, and more animals.
Wow.
And she had never seen it.
Wow. That's amazing.
Those are the moments where you're like, it's only God.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. That's exciting.
Do you have to get rolling by a certain time? I just
Nope.
want to be respectful of
Entrepreneur, man.
that. I love it. Yep.
I'm gonna go back to the venue at some point and do my orders for the wedding this weekend, and go home and keep renovating a half bath.
Sweet.
Nice.
I know we
No
all have
rush.
questions and stuff, but
Yeah, man.
it was just so cool to hear. I'm sure that was like extremely encouraging and just a fun little exciting thing. Just the level of alignment that's there. So I'm sure that's been a journey, but just hearing like, oh, this is what I'd like for the property, and you're like, wait a minute. So that's just really cool.
Yeah.
Cool to hear.
Well, it's the shift now is like, I kept saying, like, you have to look back to see it. I do believe there comes a moment when the obedience and the alignment, like, you almost start to walk in and actually do see it, right? Like, right now, we need the capital to just, like, buy things for the new venue.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have it. We don't have liquid cash. And, like, Hannah's kind of like, you know, we need these things, and how and when. I'm like, I don't know, but I 100% believe they're going to be here. Like, so it's there's also a shift when you start actually, I don't want to say believing, but it you know, it kind of is. It's like walking in the authority that we're told we have through Him and through the Holy Spirit. It's like, it's almost like you just kind of know. I made a reference to it when I was getting fired. Like, you feel like Neo when he finally, like, in the Matrix, when he's like, he believes it, and he's just like, the agent comes up to him and he's just like one-handed, like, blocking everything. I feel like you can get to that point in your faith where if you're spending the time with God and obeying and just going, it's like you actually see it in the moment versus looking back at it. So, like, to be able to say, like, let's say we need $100,000 for the new venue. It's like, okay, I believe it'll be there. I'm not worried about it. But 2 years ago, it's like, I was so worried about it.
Yeah.
And couldn't see it. It's just completely upside down. It's kind of fun. It's like a cheat code.
Yeah.
It really is.
I love that. I think it's such an important principle. This is just a general, like, temporal principle for acting, but you looked at your previous venue, you said, okay, I roughly know what the numbers are. This new venue, there's a whole lot of unknown, but I at least have these variables that I can estimate on.
Yeah.
So based on these numbers, I'm going to execute, even though I don't have the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
And often, I felt this for myself, just in transitioning and kind of going down the entrepreneur lane of, I don't have the big picture, but that's okay. I have steps 1 through 5. And after that, it's like, you got to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
But getting just the base level of knowledge that is actionable and just implementing that as fast as possible.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I would put myself more as a visionary. Like, I can see the big picture really quick. I'm a dreamer. And I think probably a lot of entrepreneurs tend to feel that way. Otherwise, why would you dream about owning your own thing, whatever it is? And I wasn't a practicer of that, the steps, like you said. And that was also something with Hannah and I, where it's like, you know, in my corporate job, I had to do a budget and I had to look at my P&L, and it's like the Broadway, in the season, I was like, I don't have time to do that. It was just where I was at. And now it's like, I am, again, stewarding, like, what a word, everything. The Broadway finances, our household finances, like, those arguments of finances go away. Being unoffendable, you know, like, why did that money what did you just spend there? And I used to be like, what's it matter? You know, it's my money, I made it. And now it's like, oh yeah, yep, I did that. Okay, do we have money for that? Yep, here's how much money we have. It just changes everything. And I think that's also God's hand was like, Hannah, you have to understand, this is a 2-part thing here, because, like, there's this whole Nick story, but, like, what you just explained about the second venue, the desires of Hannah for me as a man, her man, I was not fulfilling, stewarding, right? And there was a moment in our kitchen, I ran all those numbers, and we kind of knew what we were going to have to buy this place for. And she said something like, I just don't know, blah, 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 like, not sure. And I was like, I 100% believe that God's hand is in this, and we have to trust him, and and her response was, okay. If it's in him, then I follow you. And it's like, that was such a shift, because that trust wasn't there if the man's not stewarding, and as, God, man, woman, children, if that's screwed up, everything's screwed, it's chaos.
Yeah.
And that's a spiritual battle, right?
Right.
Like, what's everybody saying now? Like, toxic masculinity. It's like, is it? If a man's being a man and stewarding and shepherding, is it toxic?
That's just how it should be.
Right. And then what do they do with feminism? It's man sucks. The original feminist movement probably was legit. Like, we are strong, we can do it. 100%. Women can do. But now it's like, no, men suck. And then you get into the really bottom one, which is scary and gross. It's like, there is no man or woman.
Yeah.
So, God's order, God, man, woman, children, the world, men suck, women don't need men, doesn't matter, because there's no such thing as man and woman.
Right.
Anybody can be anything.
Yeah.
So that's spiritual, dude. When you start to see that, it gets real ugly.
I imagine you're taking the same convictions from the Broadway into, what was it, the Elton Grove?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
We were already planning for that.
Yeah.
Planning for some sort of can of worms to be opened up, but it's like, and they did. I mean, we made a post, and the very first post we made started to have comments already. These are the same people that own the Broadway. No, don't give them your money. But the weird thing was, the fire never started. The gas never took off.
Sweet.
So,
Love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Outside of wedding venues, you mentioned your LLC structure. You have whole LLC?
yeah, WHOLE, like a whole.
Yeah.
So, ideally, it's like, that's the real estate holding LLC, and then the Broadway Avenue is like an operating company.
Okay.
So it's just structure and protection.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep. Cool. What has Hannah been doing this whole time? I don't think we.
Nothing. No.
Let me restructure that. So, at the
There go
beginning of
your
the
women viewers.
at the beginning of the conversation, and kind of throughout this whole entire thing, like, we've just been questioning you and
Yeah.
what you've been doing. Like, has Hannah had, like, when you guys first met, what was she doing with her life?
Yeah.
And then how was that?
Yeah,
transition
so when we met, she was a wedding photographer.
Okay.
That's kind of how this whole, right, chef, wedding photographer, how cool. She originally, initially was like so much of the design. So you really have to separate the two businesses. You have venue business, catering. There goes Nick, he's out of the conversation now. So Hannah is like all things venue. I mean, she understands the food and is all part of that, but like, she designed the entire Broadway Avenue. She sourced it all. She was really, because at this time I'm like kind of in the checkout, right? And she's just continuing on. She is very high standard, like detail. Excuse me. And so she plays a huge part in like the venue office team. How we communicate, the standards of the business. Like, she goes there every Tuesday. She meets with all of them. She's reviewing how our sales rep is giving tour. Like, still very hands-on, but also like we kept having kids, so she's also a mom, like a great one. But we have 4 kids at home and 1 coming in April.
Wow.
So, yeah, thank you. It's, so there's a lot of time where it was like, Nick is gone. Nick's at work. Nick's got to go to the Broadway. Hannah's at home with 4 kids. And so as I left my job, I feel like my presence was became more at the Broadway organically because I was physically there, but also now like her time has been able to kind of reduce. I think she would love to go there every single day. She loves the building. She loves our team. Like her and the office girls are like BFFs. But it's like her one day is just extremely intentional. Like she gets a recap from them. They do a big prayer. I always joke because I'm like corporate minded, like 15 minutes, we got 30 minutes, like the meeting starts, like you got, and they're just like, we're praying, like we're just catching up and praying. But yeah, her involvement with the business, and again, like Alden Grove opening, like she's out looking for tents and tables and chairs and lights and decor and like big picture visionary, and then I'm back there like, you just tell me the dollar, and then right, we're gonna pray about it. So yeah, very active with the business. Much less since I have been out of my job and then being there full time. Photography has really come back. Like dwindled. So yeah, she's also like an amazing worker at home. Like she's designer.
Mm-hmm.
She can hold her own on house projects. So yeah.
Cool. Far earlier, you mentioned your electrician friend from Ohio or Indiana? Indiana.
Yep.
You mentioned, I think it was him. He said, so you have this much in your corporate job.
Mm-hmm.
What happened if you took that and divided that down?
Yeah.
How have you seen that play out, especially in regards to your family? Have you been able to step more into family life?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of seeing it now watching you do that. Like, I don't think it's dividing anymore. I think I was dividing it because I felt like I had to. Almost like, you say you wear different hats.
Mm-hmm.
But really it should be the same person. The environment just changes. So I feel like any of the stresses and the problems that I was placing onto other categories, I was blaming the other categories. I'm not a good dad right now, I don't have time because I'm tired because of my job. I'm not a good husband right now because you're always doing that versus like, if I can just be consistently over all of that, and I think that's that stewarding idea, like, it doesn't matter what time it is, who it is, where it is, I just have to be the same Nick that God made, right? So, I don't feel like I've divided. I feel more present in all things. Like, when I'm at work, I'm present. When I'm with Hannah, I'm present. When I'm with the kids, I'm present. So I don't feel like time has to be divided anymore. Where before I had to compartmentalize everything I was doing because I wasn't surrounded. I was doing it.
Right.
So.
Do you feel like a big piece of that, because I know there was a couple things that I can recall that I guess could have contributed to that time variation and allocation. One was obviously leaving your job, that was the main one, but then also hiring that sales rep to step in and say, all right, here's a task that we should and can delegate. What were some of those key parts? Am I right on that? Is there something else that you'd like to add or put more clarity on?
I think it's almost opposite for me. I think for Hannah, the sales rep was huge because Hannah was doing tours. And so then to be told like, you're not really good at that. And she admitted like afterwards, she's like, I'm not good at it. She's just not a salesperson. There's definitely a skill set and a personality trait to being in sales, right?
Yep.
So that was huge, probably not just for the business, but Hannah, because like our life at that point when Hannah was doing tours was like, okay, Nick's at work, I come home, Hannah leaves because she has tours, and she would do all of her tours at night. So it was basically like being single parents when the other person's gone every day. And so finally then it was like, okay, well Hannah's not doing those anymore, she gets to be home. That's
huge.
cool. Yeah, right. For me, it's almost, what did you say, the adverse? Like it's the opposite. We had a chef when we opened. We paid a chef a salary, and then when everything happened, the first one quit because it was a mess. Like I don't blame him. And then I was like, oh my gosh, we need a chef again. So then we hired another chef, and that was fine. And then it was kind of like, this was all like in 2022. He got through maybe the turn of 2022, and we're like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to stay open, like if this is gonna work and be able to pay these people. And so he was like, I have to take care of my family. Like I can't hope, you know. And he was in that middle category of like, he didn't really care one way or another. He's like, you guys seem like great people. It's a good job. It's a good check. I don't care. And so then he was like, but I have to take care of my family, so I have to leave. And it was that moment where I'm like, well, I guess we're probably never gonna get a chef, so I should just do it. And again, looking back, I feel like that was God being like, you should have just done that from the jump. Like you were scared and you were worried, and so like for me it was the opposite. Once I started being a chef, I feel like I was actually, things got better for me when I actually stepped into the role of being a chef. So like Hannah had to step out, I had to step in for it to work better for both of us.
I like that. It's good insight.
Yeah, and it's, you know, sometimes I'm not a good delegator. I'll be very honest. Like I'm usually the like, get out of my way, I'll just do it. Which is odd because I love coaching. And coaching is the exact opposite. That's like, I'll teach you and then you just go do it.
Yep.
And my success as a coach is predicated upon your success as an athlete. But when it came to like work, I was really bad at delegating. And so it's cool now because I stepped into the role and I only have 3 guys that help me in the kitchen. And one of them, I've been training, he can run his own events now. I put him through food safety certification, I've been paid for all those things, and like, it's made me get better at that, because I'm like, at some point, it'd be nice to not even have to be here at all, and still read the we're not there yet financially, but it's made me realize that day has to come, and Alden helped that. I mean, we're not gonna do food year 1, but if we have 2 weddings going on at 2 locations, I have to be at 1 and he has to be at 1. So it's like, that has to be ready.
Right.
So yeah, it's getting better at delegating, but it's hard to, especially as an entrepreneur, you could say it's your little baby and you're like, I don't wanna give up any control yet, but it's still surrender. Like you have to give it up.
That's good. You guys have specific questions that you want to dive into?
I've kind of been picking at them.
Topics?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been picking at them, trying to make them feel more organic.
Love it.
But I kind of glanced over what Donaldson had as well, and it seems like a lot of his got answered too.
Sweet. I did want to circle back and touch on the biblical family, because I know that's a big passion of yours, obviously, with the stand you've taken, but even just hearing you describe the structure in which God's created. And I think it's just so important to talk about, especially in our culture. So many aspects of the biblical family are under attack. Even you mentioned this, like the definition of man and woman is under attack.
Yeah.
So I'd love to dive in deeper on the biblical family, why you think it's important. Yeah, we can start there.
Yeah, I think going through what we went through, like the first question you get asked is like, what's it matter? Right, like who cares? 2 men, 2 women, what's it matter? I didn't really have a good answer for that then, except for that the Bible says so, right? And then everybody's like, well, I don't believe in the Bible. I'm like, cool. And one thing that kind of I talked about with the guest actually, because we started to get a lot of people that were like, oh, thank you so much. They would like whisper it to us at the end, thank you for standing. It's great. And at one event, it was like everybody was saying that. And then all of a sudden this couple was like, well, we don't agree. I was like, well, let's go talk. And we kind of got to that point where like, well, we're not believers. I'm like, okay, well, let's put it in context without the Bible. So, love, right? And I said, let's say you have a family member, you love them. You love them unconditionally, right? But they're addicted to meth. And you're not okay with that. You just, right? But you still help them because you love them. You give them money, you've given them food, whatever. You help them, you love them. And then they come over to your house and they say, do you mind if I smoke meth real quick? And you say, I do mind in my house. Do you love them or not? And the crazy thing was, she goes, that's really crazy that you use that because I have a family member who's addicted to meth.
Wow.
Right. So I'm like, okay, that was my moment of like, okay, well, if everybody says love is love with pride, that's